Nico Iamaleava will be better than Hendon Hooker in 2022 by the end of the season. Yes, no doubt. Nope, not yet. In other words, not by the end of this season. Caleb Calhoun, we're going to get into some of the numbers. But we've now had 2 games. Most of these teams that we're going to talk about and quarterbacks have played a quality opponent. Some have not. So I've got Nico above them, even though his quarterback ranking isn't as high. But I ask you that question. Will Nico's play be as high of a level as Hendon Hooker by the end of the year? You might even say it is already. And
you know,
as a matter of fact, Mr. Gumps said so. Go ahead.
I'm rerouting a little bit on this. I would have said he already is better, but after last week, there are still some mistakes that he made that I don't think Hendon Hooker would have made given his experience. So I still think by the end of the year he'll be better. Yeah,
I think he'll be better by the end of September when he beats Oklahoma on the road. And then that will be a major notch in his belt. And I want to get into why. And I remind you that portions of the program are brought to you by Medicare Misty, a registered, licensed in over 40 states. Medicare Misty is there for you. Here is why Nico will be better than Hendon Hooker at the end of the year. By the way, Medicare Misty, no charge for her services.
19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
Okay. Let me tell you why I think Nico will be at the Hooker level or better. So he threw 2 interceptions over the weekend. That's affected his rating, which is 185.5, which is very, very good. Don't get me wrong. That is fantastic. 185.5, but it's going to settle out for the remainder of the season. Now, Hendon Hooker was rated as the 2nd best quarterback in the nation and tops in the SEC with a 177.7 rating. Again, you have to factor in Nico played Chattanooga in the first game and played an overmatched team that Josh Heupel did a great job of scheming up with the double tight end look. So, again, it's higher. It's going to settle when you would think when they start to play the Georgias and the Alabamas of the world. But I believe firmly that he'll end up with a higher ranking at the end of the day because of the better overall talent. Now, let's talk SEC for a second. You have Georgia's Carson Beck and Ole Miss's Jackson Dart. They are the 2, in my opinion, that just in terms of ratings will be the toughest to beat in Dart and Beck. Beck will be the efficient one. He won't be asked to throw as much. His numbers and his rating will be fantastic. Ole Miss's Jackson Dart, you know as well as I do that Lane Kiffin wants to run up as many points as possible. So his might be somewhat overinflated, but it'll still be very, very good. And I'm not knocking any of these guys. I'm just telling you that Nico already belongs in the conversation of top quarterback in the SEC. That's going to prove to be the case. So right now, here is what you have. The ratings, you have Jackson Dart, who is number 1. His rating's 247 because they played nobody. DJ Lagway at Florida is 225.1. Jalen Milroe at Alabama, I don't believe continues his success. They've played no one. He'll come down to earth. Blake Shapen at Mississippi State. I know you like State a lot, but he's going to have tougher days ahead. I think you would agree with that, Caleb.
Well, and I like State because they run an offense. They're going to run an offense similar to Heupel's, but Heupel's got way more talent to run the same offense. So obviously, Tennessee's is going to be better.
Right, which leads to a better quarterback rating. Then you have Carson Beck, Georgia, who hasn't thrown an interception yet. And then you have Nico at number 6. So, guys, right now, Nico is playing at a 185.4.5 rate. Again, these numbers are going to come down a little bit. Carson Beck's at 185.8. He's already playing as good as the best quarterback, at least that's what we thought, headed into the season. So give me one reason why Nico's rating won't eventually pass Shapen, Milroe, and Lagway. Do you agree or disagree that at the end of the season, he will be at the very least one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the SEC?
Oh, easily. It's going to be Nico, Jackson Dart, and Carson Beck. And Carson Beck may have a higher rating because of efficiency. Jackson Dart may have a higher rating because, guys, if you guys are watching Ole Miss right now, Lane Kiffin is just having a blast, like having Jackson Dart light it up for fun. And so Lane Kiffin will video game style try to make sure Jackson Dart has the best stats, to be honest. But yeah, no, absolutely. It's I would venture to say that Nico, it would be shocking if he wasn't number 1 by the end of the year, if I'm being honest with you, Dave.
I wasn't going to go that far, but I'll roll with you on that. Hendon Hooker had a 175 rating throughout the entire season. That was 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I don't think that Nico's going to throw a lot of errant balls. I don't know why he came out there and threw a couple of errant balls. Again, we're nitpicking about Nico, but he did throw a couple of errant balls. I don't know if he was fired up because this was a totally different look that they were giving NC State and 2 tight ends, Caleb, but he was off target. I mean, the one ball across the middle just soared on him. I don't think that's going to be commonplace or repeat itself moving forward. It was just a bad ball. I mean, the read was good if the ball's on target. And also factor this in. I know it was an interception, but I'd rather miss a guy leading him out, as Nico did in this offense, as opposed to it being on his back hip and he has to stop like Tennessee's quarterback play last year, Caleb. So your thoughts on where Nico might end up, his strengths, weaknesses compared to Hendon Hooker?
Well, I agree, and I want to throw this out here too. And this may be a little controversial to say, but maybe not controversial, but they're taking more risk with Nico than they even took with Hendon Hooker.
There's no question. The throw down the middle of the field, the deep crossing route, to Dante, but that was against Chattanooga. But last week, the one he missed was also a risky throw.
Yeah, no, that's true. But they're asking him to make a lot of risky throws. And I mean, this is kind of naturally what comes with that, isn't it, Dave? I mean, we got to be honest. And so I think long-term, he's going to be fine. Remember, Nico Iamaleava right now he's had 3 starts and he's faced 2 3-3-5 defenses. That's not common. And he's not going to be facing 3-3-5 defenses regularly throughout his college career. And so, again, you're going to start seeing more chances for him to really start to light it up. He hasn't had many. He'll light it up this weekend. He'll get back in the Heisman race. I keep telling you guys this. The Oklahoma game, I was half right, by the way, on Saturday in my early prediction, Dave. Before the season, I said Tennessee would beat NC State, but they would struggle to do it. It would be like a Pittsburgh game. It would be ugly, and it'd be kind of under the radar. And then 2 weeks later, they would light it up against Oklahoma, and Nico would be a Heisman contender. Well, they didn't struggle to beat NC State, but Nico was a little bit under the radar because of the mistakes, so the national media is still not talking about him the way they should. So I am still right on the fact that Oklahoma will be the game where national media falls in love with Nico. And guys, I'm telling you this, they're going to fall in love with Nico.
I agree with that. Now, I will tell you this. Watching the broadcast, that there is no question that all of the reviews, and we talk about these little private conversations that the TV guys have with the coaches before the game, there's no question that Kirk Herbstreit and the guy who does the play-by-play, that they have been told nothing but great things about Nico. And that was obvious during the broadcast. That was obvious during the beginning of the broadcast when they made such a big deal about his name. That was obvious with the Peyton Manning intro. Listen, there is no negative feedback coming out of Tennessee. As a matter of fact, there's positive feedback. That's why they're willing to have him pumped up as much as they are. Caleb, if you had any reservations, you'd probably say, like, I don't know. Or, I guarantee you Peyton knows what's going on, and he wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have done that intro. And you saw the intro, the one I'm talking about, right?
I saw the intro, and it was funny because he tried to like both sides it, because he brought in Grayson. They had him talk about Grayson McCall too, and I'm like, okay, you did this intro because they're using you to prop up Nico. Let's call it what it is.
You would not do that intro for Tyler Bray.
No, never. That is
Peyton would not put himself out there and hurt his potential PR. So just all signs are pointing to that he is going to be elite.